Welcome back to The Truth is Viral. I'm your host, Bob Powell. With so much bad stuff going on in the world, when I relax, I like to take a couple hours, come down here to Chiefs in Alpena, where they've got the greatest barbecue and bacon burgers and hot wings and all that stuff. And we play trivia. And last week, we donation to the Boys and Girls Club of Alpena. Thank you, Chiefs. And everybody partying. Let's party!
Places you don't talk about at parties. You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall.
Keep this frequency clear.
And now it's conspiracy. See, they've made that something that should not be even entertained for a minute. That powerful people might get together and have a plan. Doesn't happen. You're a kook. You're a conspiracy buff.
You're watching The Truth is Viral, the only news program on the internet trusted to deliver the truth since 2008. And now, here's your host, Mr. Bobby Powell.
Okay, you caught me. That's my one guilty vice. For 3 hours a week, I go to the local pub and I play trivia. That's my wild nightlife. But we do it for a good cause. Last week, we were able to give $500 to the Boys and Girls Club of Alpena. So, you know, definitely a worthwhile cause. And we have fun doing it. And I'd like to thank everybody that makes that possible, because, you know, I need to decompress everything that's going on around here. But what you're going to hear right now is a radio interview. I'm a guest on the Pete Santilli Show. And, you know, Pete and I were both after the same thing, which is the truth. And, you know, he was kind of grilling me kind of hard about Adam Kokesh's ties to the Muslim Brotherhood and other things. And, you know, that's okay. I love you, Pete. Go ahead and give me a hard time, because I've got the evidence. I mean, it's right there for anybody to see. You can follow them yourself at freedomoutpost.com in the 2 articles that I've linked in the description below. Now, after the show was over, though, there was an interesting conversation going on about, or after my part of the show was over, after, you know, my segment was over, there was an interesting conversation going on about this picture of Adam Kokesh wearing Arab dress and holding a sidearm. And, you know, they're saying, that's not even Adam Kokesh. If we can't trust, you know, a picture like this, how can we trust anything else that Tim Brown has to say?
Can I say something here? I need to go officially on the record here, all right? Because the link that you know, that I have that Bobby Powell recommended has a picture of somebody dressed up like a Saudi Arabian with you know, like a Muslim, a Saudi Arabian with a gun, and it has Adam Kokesh's name under it, and that is not Adam Kokesh in that picture. Okay, this hit piece that was written by Freedom Outpost is so sloppy. The one written by Tim Brown is so sloppy that he actually he flags, he creates the impression that this is Adam Kokesh, and it's not. This is not Adam Kokesh. And the link is here. Hold on a second. I'm going to provide this link to you. Right? I find that this guy Tim Brown lost all credibility with me, because that's not Adam Kokesh, who he has identified in that picture at all. So, how much of the other stuff that he's put in his article is skewed the way that photo is? You know, you just have to question it. And I do. That's my job. I'm going to question everybody. Even if I love Bobby Powell, I'm going to question him. He came here.
I adore him.
Yeah, I really, really do. And I feel really bad to say this.
He actually is a great patriot.
He's a great patriot.
Just a few of the things that he said kind of got me a little hot under the...
Yeah, but I'm going to have to say that Bobby didn't come to us with anything convincing whatsoever. I want to have an open mind. If there's something out there that's against Adam Kokesh, I haven't seen it.
Well, check this out. Here's the picture on Adam Kokesh's own website. And you know how Kokesh has been claiming for such a long time that he's a libertarian, right? Well, he's nothing of the kind. The man is an anarchist, plain and simple. He's been on radio shows and television shows, Alex Jones and others, saying, you know, that the Constitution is a failed experiment.
How do you feel about the Constitution of the United States of America?
It's a failed experiment.
And he thinks that we can get rid of our government completely, and that everybody, free, beautiful individuals, will be able to rule themselves.
I think it's time to actually use precise, direct language in what we're talking about and not be afraid about how it's going to be spun by the loyalists. We are armed. We are revolting. We are calling for an end to the United States federal government as we know it. Both of us are. You want to reboot it. I say we can end it and simply fill that power vacuum with individuals asserting their rights or even states asserting their sovereignty.
But what I'm saying is...
That's the very definition of anarchy. And I've got news for you. By and large, people are not free, beautiful individuals. In a perfect world, they would be. But this is far from a perfect world. And there's a bunch of scumbags out there. It's a mob. People are animals, ruled by their baser instincts, and it's law and government that keep them in line. Anarchy has never worked, and it never will. And one last thing, there's this letter, you know, underneath that picture of Adam Kokesh. Go ahead and read this with me. I'm going to paraphrase because, you know, I'm not actually reading it. But, you know, he's telling this man that was assigned to investigate him for this uniform wearing incident that, you know, he pledged his life and whatnot to the Constitution and to the Marine Corps. And then in the next breath he says, but I don't want to be under their finger, under their thumb. This is the way this man holds to his oath. He doesn't. He swore to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States, but he wants to get rid of it. He says it's a failed experiment. And what does he want to replace it with? Nothing. He's got no plan. No plan at all. But we'll talk more about that later. In the middle, though, I'm going to cut away to a portion of Pete's interview with Adam Kokesh earlier in the day. Pete's asking him about his ties to the Muslim Brotherhood. Boy, I'm telling you, Adam is slick. He did not answer the question, and Pete just kept on going. And then later, Pete said, you know, how he wanted a peaceful change, and you know, continue our government, just get rid of the scumbags, and you know, continue with our government. And what does Adam say? He says, I can appreciate that. He doesn't agree. He doesn't say that he wants a peaceful change. He says, I can appreciate that point of view. Well, sorry, but that's just not good enough. So go ahead and watch this interview on Pete Santilli while oh my gosh, these are looking so good. Get these burgers going. And I'll talk to you again in a minute.
All right, so this is going to be an interesting conversation I'm about to have, especially coming off of the Adam Kokesh interview. I have somebody who I absolutely respect. I respect his judgment. I respect his information. I actually found him as a YouTuber. I watched a very powerful presentation he did on YouTube. And he's a journalist. He's an investigative journalist. He's also United States Marine. Sorry, just like Adam Kokesh, myself. He says he's not a former Marine or an ex-Marine. When he dies, he will be a decomposing Marine.
But still Marine, of course.
Yeah, hoorah is right. So I welcome back to the Pete Santilli Show. I think this is your third or fourth visit. But Bobby, as I was telling you in the break, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of chatter that's out there. But I don't go by what, the trolls are writing in the comment threads. I would much rather get the information from a respected investigative journalist like yourself. I want to make sure that anything derogatory or negative that we put towards Adam Kokesh, I mean, if it's true, it's true. If there's facts out there, we need to address those. But I want to make sure that we don't keep it to, I don't want speculation. I'm sure you can appreciate that because I've had it done to me.
Well, yeah,
there's a lot of stuff out there on me that is so freaking bogus that I understand. I guess that's the perspective that I'm coming from, is that the stuff that has been written about me is so far off base because obviously when you're over the target, as they say, you're going to get a lot of people coming at you. But we can't ignore some of the stuff that's out there, and that's why I want to hear it from you. What are you hearing out there? You're putting out articles saying that Adam Kokesh is, is not what we think he is, and I must be completely disillusioned. I don't know. Change my mind, I guess.
Okay. Well, before we start with the conspiracy theory part of it, why don't we just take a look at some facts that can't be denied? The march as he had planned it originally, I understand he's backing away from that now, but the march as he had planned it originally was a tactical suicide plan. Okay, we call bridges in the Marine Corps killing zones for a reason. Because once you're on it, you have three options. You can jump over the side, you can surrender, or you can fight. Now, jumping over the side, unless you've been through Marine Corps water survival training, I wouldn't recommend that. That's a pretty wide river. And fighting, I wouldn't recommend that either, because I guarantee you that they have fully automatic weapons, and they would outnumber anybody on that bridge by at least 10 to 1. And the third option, what Kokesh suggests, what he said he was going to do if he met any resistance, offer himself up as a sacrificial lamb. Well, that just doesn't make any sense at all, because once you do that, I talked, or I had actually one of my employees talk to Kathy Lanier, the Detroit Metropolitan Police Chief, and she said that as soon as
you mean the Washington D.C. Police Chief, right?
Washington D.C. Metro Police Chief. Now, she said that as soon as an armed person stepped foot on that bridge, they were committing a felony, and they would be arrested. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So they can look forward to spending some time in a D.C. jail at the minimum, and then when they get out, okay, what's happened? They're felon. They can't vote anymore. They can no longer legally own a firearm. And there's no reason for this at all, because in case nobody's noticed, Barack Obama's Second Amendment or anti-Second Amendment legislation went down in flames. We've already won. So, there's no reason for this. And any reason that Kokesh could give is invalid.
Okay, now, if you don't mind, with all due respect, I want to ask you, the person that was speaking to that police chief, Laird, did anybody address her on the constitutionality or the unconstitutionality of her actions?
Well, yeah, sure. Everybody likes to bring up DC versus Heller, right? Well, you need to read it. It doesn't apply to anybody but residents of the District of Columbia. A resident of Michigan, for example, or a resident of Virginia cannot walk into the District of Columbia with a weapon and claim protection under DC versus Heller, because it only applies to the residents of the District of Columbia.
Okay. I would say, and this is just based on my conversations with Adam directly, is that the sheer symbolism, making the point that we do have a right to keep and bear arms. And also, I remember when he first started talking about this, gun owners, people like myself, yourself, I'm sure you own a gun, correct? I assume you do.
Several, yeah.
Yeah, several. Okay, right. But people like us are demonized because we own guns. Now, we own guns. We have tons of ammunition. We don't use it unless it's in our own defense. So the sheer symbolism alone of us protesting, for instance, if we were to have 4 guys with muskets, at that line crossing the line, with 100,000 people standing shoulder to shoulder, say, you know what? We have a right to keep and bear arms. We mean peace. We're not coming to, to fight with these arms, and it's not a bad thing. Possessing, keeping and bearing arms per the U.S. Constitution, and somebody trying to take those arms away from us, you're committing. You're violating the U.S. Constitution by doing so. What takes precedence?
I understand that.
Yeah,
I agree with that completely. And if Kokesh had planned to go to this march with cardboard guns and big signs that said "We came unarmed this time," it gets 10,000, 50,000 people there. That might put a scare into them, and that would be doing it legally. Now, this latest video that I put out, I'm walking around downtown Alpena, Michigan, with my Mini 14 strapped over my back. I graphically illustrated how ridiculous this idea of crossing the bridge was. And I had no problem with the local police department. As a matter of fact, I walk around this town every single day open carrying. If I ever go out in town to film and I'm going to have my assault weapon with me or anything like that, all I do is pick up the phone and call the police department and tell them, okay, this is where I'm going to be, this is what I'm going to do. I have never had a single problem from any of the local police departments. In fact, they have helped me, obey the law and do things legally. And, this is important to understand, because back on March 20th, I think it was, we had an open carry rally down in Lansing. Now, it was 20 degrees out. It was snowing. And still, we had 1,000 heavily armed Patriots. That's an entire division, brother. And they were standing side by side with members of the Michigan State Patrol, members of the Michigan House, members of the Michigan Senate, and we were all telling the federal government they can come take our guns over our dead bodies. Now, that's the way to do it, with the cooperation of your legislators and law enforcement.
Let me ask you something, Bobby. Yeah, no, Bobby, this is great. I mean, as a matter of fact, the discussions that I had with Adam was out there. He's putting himself on the line, throwing out some ideas. He had a lot of suggestions. Did you pick up the phone and contact Adam and make those suggestions to see what we couldn't do to still make the point and make it a peaceful protest? Because I know for a fact that he wanted it to be much more peaceful than I did.
Yeah, I did send him a message a week before I published my first video because, being a journalist, I wanted to get both sides. But I did not get a response. Now, he did respond to one of my YouTube comments just this morning, and I asked him to come be on my show. But as of this moment, I haven't received a reply. Now, here's a couple of things I wanted to point out about that interview that you had with him. Okay, Adam Kokesh is slick. Okay, he's a real good speaker. He's not a bad-looking guy. I wish he'd clean himself up a bit, maybe get rid of that World Wrestling Federation goatee and wife-beater T-shirt.
Well, how's that going to change? How's that going to change his Bobby? You know what? Please don't take this the wrong way. How's that going to change his message and what he represents? What if he did have a
because if people look at you and they make a judgment. It doesn't matter what your argument is. It doesn't matter how good your argument is. If you look like a bum, they're going to think you're a bum from the get-go, and they're not going to pay attention to you. And it doesn't help when he's smoking pot on air and then talking about going out and leading an armed march. Who in the hell wants to follow a man that's been blazing up on his bong into an armed situation where there could be an armed conflict? Okay, now you know me, Pete. I'm a libertarian. I couldn't give two rats' asses about what people put into their bodies. If you want to smoke pot, fine. But don't combine it with firearms. The two do not mix. It makes as much sense as drinking and driving.
I'm not going to oppose what you said. You're right. Unfortunately, society will judge based on appearance. That's absolutely true. And I used to wear a suit and tie. I don't anymore. But people used to. I'm still the same exact person, by the way. I'm the exact person with the same passion. But you're right. I was judged differently when I had a suit and tie. People really trusted me and the way I spoke, and I didn't use profanity, and just things were very different then than they are now. But that's an unfortunate reality. Now, also, I have to agree with you. I mean, being under the influence and going into an armed conflict, that's a concern. Sure, I'll give you that.
Just like to remind everybody that The Truth is Viral depends on your donations to keep going, to bring the truth to more and more people every week. Last year, I spent an entire month's worth of my Social Security disability income producing this show. I put everything that I can into it. I can't do anything without your help. You know, if I want to go someplace, this Constitutional Sheriff and Peace Officers Association, I tried to raise enough money for that, but I'm not a very good fundraiser, apparently. Unless I get a $1,500 donation tonight, I ain't going. But, you know, there are other things that I can do, things that are around here in Michigan. There's a lot of news down in Detroit, especially down around Dearborn. It's got the largest Muslim community in the United States. And there are a lot of stories that I could get out of there, and all I need is gas money to get down there. But, you know, my limited income, I can't afford it. So I depend on you to, you know, help me generate stories that matter to you, that affect our lives. So please, if you have the ability, go to bobpowell.blogspot.com and click on the PayPal link and help us out. Whatever I don't use producing the show is going to go towards unpaid medical bills that have been generated by my wife's cancer treatment. So thank you for supporting The Truth is Viral. God bless you. Let's get back to this interview with Pete Santilli. Okay, now let's go to this interview that you were talking about. I'm hoping that I can get this to play so that your listeners can hear. I'm sure mine will. Tell me if you can hear this real quick.
There have been some people who consider themselves...
Can you hear that?
I'm not even going to mention their names here, okay?
No.
But somebody came out...
Okay, well, let me try this.
A journalist who calls himself a journalist.
Okay, well, you're not going to be able to hear it. Well, I'll just go ahead and explain. You are, in that interview, you were talking about the journalist, person that you said called himself a journalist.
Who came out and said, Adam Kokesh.
You were talking about the accusations about the Muslim Brotherhood and all that. And you know what? If you'll go back and listen to that, Pete, when he answers, he doesn't answer.
Now, this person who considers themselves to be an alternative media journalist is now flagging you as being aligned with a Muslim American Society member, and that you, it's a de facto arm of the Muslim Brotherhood of the U.S. That's the latest twist, dude. And I want you to address that directly towards this pig that wrote this article.
Keep up the good work. Keep exposing yourself.
There you go. I like how you say that. Keep exposing yourself. Because I've always indicated that the quote-unquote trolls, and some of them actually wear a journalist hat, when they start doing that type of stuff in opposition to what you're attempting to do on behalf of the American people, that identifies themselves for who they are, as if they have a dunce cap on their head and they're running around in the media, just like your common comment thread troll, aren't they?
Yeah, and this is one, you know, for when an individual attacks me or anybody who's speaking the truth, and they're kind of accountable for what they've said, like this author that you referenced, that's great. I love it. But there is something kind of more nefarious going on, and that is the comment trolls. And when it comes time to take a bold step and leave the mainstream and
he has enamored you, my friend. He is a slick speaker. He did not answer your question. And then again, later on.
He doesn't side with the Muslim Brotherhood. I spoke to him personally. He doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's a matter of contention. But then later, when you were talking about
I'm not going to let you get by with that. Hold on a second. You're a journalist. You were a news anchor for KVOR in Colorado Springs during Operation Desert Storm, right? You've reported for CBS Radio Network. I mean, you're a serious journalist, and you're a great citizen journalist. Now, for you to make an assertion that he is affiliated with the Muslim Brotherhood without providing any facts, I won't accept here from you. I'm not going to.
Okay, well, let me say that he's. How do I want to put this? Okay, his links to these people are obvious. They're documented. If you go to my video, you'll see them. Now, it's not that he gets a paycheck from the Muslim Brotherhood. That's not at all what's being said. But he has ties to the Islamic Society of Boston, which is the mosque where the Boston bombers went. Okay, anytime you see an Islamic Society of anything, that's Muslim Brotherhood. Okay, and the other people that he associates with, Code Pink, Cindy Sheehan. I grieve the loss of her son, but seriously, you remember that picture? We support the murder of American soldiers. I would never stand next to that woman without spitting on her. Nobody supports the murder of American soldiers around me. Those are my brothers and sisters, and they're your brothers and sisters too. And it ought to piss you off, brother.
And Bobby, you know what? That's why I think the three of us need to stick together. And that's why I've come out as best as I possibly can without having any evidence to the contrary. I've come out in support of Adam Kokesh because I'm not going to go by troll chatter. You know what I mean? He's not affiliated with the Muslim Brotherhood. He's told me that personally.
If you'll go to the site where I conducted the interview with this man, Tim Brown of freedomoutpost.com, he's got links to all of his assertions.
Freedomoutpost.com?
Freedomoutpost.com. It's the one where it says Adam Kokesh admits mental instability and has Muslim Brotherhood ties. That's the headline you're looking for.
He has post-traumatic stress disorder because he went to Fallujah. Is that correct?
That's what he claims. And then he also said after he got back that he had trouble handling crowds, which gives me another reason for pause. If he's got trouble handling crowds, how does he expect to maintain control of an armed formation?
See, but those journalists, one of whom that I was referring to during the interview, is somebody who says, "Oh, the veterans are being demonized. Oh my goodness!" And then there they are writing articles demonizing a veteran. Which is very hypocritical to me because I'm actually reading both of their articles from the same exact people. I don't.
Well, just because you're a veteran does not necessarily give you a pass. Because you're a Marine does not give you a pass. You remember the term shitbird, don't you?
I do. I don't think that Adam Kokesh is a shitbird. Do you?
Well, he's leaning that way, in my opinion, because he's just doing everything wrong. He's disgracing himself. He's disgracing the United States Marine Corps, and I want nothing to do with the man other than to have him on my show as an adversarial guest. I would really like to debate it.
Yeah. So let's say this. So you're forming your judgment, your opinion based on what this guy from Freedom Outpost has written. And let's go.
Well, no, not just him. Not just him. I've done my own independent research, and I don't care for any of his ties. He's not a libertarian. Ron Paul disavowed him. Ron Paul kicked him out of his Ron Paul Fest down in Florida. Said, "Do not admit this man." Ron Paul wants nothing to do with Adam Kokesh.
That's because Jesse Benton has a problem hitting women. So that's why that happened. I have a little bit of inside scoop.
You, I've been a supporter of Ron Paul since 2007.
Yeah, and
I can guarantee
Adam
you
Kokesh
he would not support this armed march on Washington, D.C.
Adam Kokesh has a little bit too much inside information on Jesse Benton for having struck his wife and use of narcotics and stuff like that. And that's why he was kicked out.
Talking about rumors. I actually don't know anything about that.
That's not a rumor. That's actually, I heard it. I heard it from somebody inside. It's factual information. I mean, if you may want to approach Adam Kokesh on this, but Jesse Benton has been witnessed to have struck a woman. Adam Kokesh knows about this stuff, and that's the main reason why they had a falling out with the Ron Paul campaign. And that's unfortunate because Adam Kokesh brought so many veterans to the Ron Paul campaign.
I know the temperament of Ron Paul, and the man would never support this. And speaking of the veterans that Kokesh brought to the Paul campaign, the Iraq Veterans Against the War issued a statement that you read Okay, so even his old friends don't want anything to do with him anymore because he's getting too radical.
Yeah, it's a radical. These are radical times we're in. Can I ask you something? What do you suggest? What do you suggest we do on July 4th yourself?
I'm gonna go on take my grandchildren to see the parade.
There you go.
That's exactly what
I'm
going to
watch fireworks and eat hot dogs.
Hell
right?
yeah! I'm going to celebrate our independence because we might
I'm not going to celebrate July 4th in that manner myself.
Actually going to dedicate the entire day. I think I'm going to do a 24-hour broadcast to help support the efforts of those people that want to go to their state capitals to do their open carry rally, their armed march, which is not a bad thing. We have people.
Well, no, I would support that. Like I said, we did the exact same thing here in Michigan back in March, and we had 1,000 people attend in sub-freezing temperatures, and it was an awesome success. So if you want to go and have an open carry march on your capital and petition your legislators for your Second Amendment rights, please, by all means, go right ahead. Just do it within the law, and you'll gain the respect of law enforcement, and you'll gain the respect of your legislators.
Well, the law also is the constitutional law as well. So we want to make sure that is our point. The constitutionality of keeping and bearing arms, I guess, is the main point, and that should apply to each and every state capital in the union. Don't you agree? Yeah.
And here in the great state of Michigan, it does.
Yes,
it's one of the freest states in the country.
I've always had respect for you, but you unfortunately, and I know we're simulcasting here. I want to tell your listeners how much I do respect you. I really, really like you. I've had you on the show. It's never been an adversarial confrontation between you and I, by no means. But we still have not discussed anything other than some hit piece that this guy at Freedom Outpost wrote. He says, look at how he writes this. Okay, despite his self-proclaimed history of mental instability and post-traumatic stress, one-time congressional candidate and perennial activist Adam Kokesh is organizing. Adam may not be the ambassador of all things that are beautiful, but you know what? I think the guy is one of those men here in America who has the balls to come forward and do something versus sit on Twitter and freaking tweet about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, Pete, I like to think that I've got some balls too. All these little blue-headed trolls come out and they're calling me a coward. I don't see their names. I don't see their pictures next to their comments.
No, I'm not calling you. I'm not saying that to you. I'm saying I admire Adam for coming forward and even at risk to his own. I mean, he's taken attacks from so many different people. The Muslim Brotherhood thing. He's got post-traumatic stress disorder. I mean, I've spoken to him personally. I've dealt with him since day one from the July 4th march. He actually wanted a peaceful march. He overemphasized that point. He was wanting to make his point. He wanted to help organize it. But America is now betraying this guy in most ways that they typically do. When somebody actually steps forward on our behalf, you want to just pummel them in the PMs.
No, that's not true. Now give me just a minute to reply to that. Adam Kokesh is of the MTV generation. Generation X, instant gratification. If he doesn't get what he wants right now, then he throws a little hissy fit baby tantrum. And he says, I'm going to lead an armed revolt on the United States government. He said this. He said, make no mistake, this is an overthrow of the United States government. Okay, now that kind of language is something that does not help us, to say the least. It's inflammatory. It could even be taken as a terroristic statement. If either you or I had said that, I guarantee you that we would have had. I'm
going to say that we've already been overthrown, and we need to de-overthrown it. And I'm prepared.
But getting back to my point, the founders were extremely patient men.
Never said that he wants to overthrow, though. He's never said that he wants to overthrow.
He did, too. He said it on the Alex Jones show. I've got the tape.
This is an armed revolt against the American government. Make no mistake about it. That is not my rights. I'm going to make it absolutely clear what I'm doing, but I will not cower in the darkness. I will not let government tell me what to do. And yes, we are going with the aim of overthrowing the government. It has become obsolete. It is an anachronism in 2013 that we still believe as human beings that we should be organizing society by coercion and violence and force of a central authority rather than as free, beautiful, independent human beings who are capable of getting along by persuasion rather than coercion.
And that's exactly what he said. And the founders were eminently patient men. They pleaded with King George. As a matter of fact, they pleaded with several King Georges. In the Stamp Act in 1765, a full 11 years before the Declaration of Independence. And in Lexington Concord, the British were the aggressors. They were actually coming from Boston to Lexington and Concord to take their guns, okay, to disarm the people. That is when you fight. That's when you stand up, because if they take your guns, then you don't have anything left. But right now in Congress, Barack Obama and Eric Holder are fighting 3 highly impeachable offenses. Both of these turds are done. Okay, there is no way that they can survive this. All they need is a false flag, some type of operation like Adam Kokesh was planning, in order to say, well, this is why we need to take guns, because 10,000 people just tried to march on Washington, D.C. and kill my ass. Okay, just giving Obama the excuse that he needs to issue an executive order or declare martial law, and that's going to be the end of it. Now, I believe that this may be our last summer as a relatively free country. That's why I'm going to spend this 4th of July with my family. Yeah, and I'm going to enjoy it while I can.
Yeah, there's only one reason for that, and that's because we will all remain lethargic and think that, maybe voting will help us out. It's not going to happen that way.
No, I don't believe that voting is going to help us out. But if, the reason that people look up to the founders, the reason that the Declaration of Independence is a model for freedom the world over, the reason that other countries copy it, is because it was such a beautiful piece of art. It wasn't just a declaration of natural rights. It was art, and I get emotional thinking about this, because these guys really did live the patriotic life, but they were also men of conscience. And they knew that history would judge them harshly if they were the aggressors.
You're right. We speak of a lot of the stuff that our founding fathers have done, and what really upsets me is that the current generation is just pissing all of that away. Just all the work that they did that we essentially inherited all of their good work, and we're just pissing it away. And everyone's going to go eat hot dogs and watch fireworks on the 4th of July and just take that one last holiday, I guess, before tyranny comes upon us and we have to go to stupid FEMA camps. I guess that's what we're waiting for.
I'll never go to a FEMA camp.
I don't go either.
They roll down my street. That's the time when everything comes out.
I think we have an opportunity here to preemptively say, you know what, to the U.S. government. The U.S. government, they don't fear us. We're a bunch of lethargic, just sit on your butts and tweet and Facebook, and you know what I mean? That's all we do. They don't fear us. Yeah. I think we need to put ourselves in a position to where our government actually fears us.
You know what's happening at the end of this month? It was an event that I actually wanted to go to, but I couldn't raise enough money, is in St. Charles, Missouri. It's the Constitutional Sheriff and Peace Officers Association. Okay, sheriff's associations in 22 states. 500 individual sheriffs have stood up and told the Obama administration that they're not going to enforce any unconstitutional gun laws. Okay, these are the kind of men that we need to support. Professional men. Men that are already in law enforcement, that have the tools and the ability and the funds and the gear that the Department of Homeland Security gave them to defend us. We've already got an army. It's the Constitutional Sheriffs of the United States of America.
Sure. Can I ask you something? Because something has just recently taken place. There's a directive out there, and the military has given testimony before, I think the Senate Armed Services Committee, or they've given testimony stating that they don't need presidential or congressional authority in order for them to assert their military force upon the people, especially if we have county sheriffs that decline or refuse to accept their help during civil unrest. What do you say to a military that says that the battlefield can be Boston here in the United States of America, or in Syria? What do you say to that when the military is basically going to nullify anything the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association are going to do?
Bring a lot of body bags.
A lot of body bags. Let me ask you one more thing, Bob, before I let you go. Dude, I feel like I'm in a very uncomfortable position, but before I let you go and I give you my final comments here, I want to ask you what your thoughts are when a U.S. government, when Congress, the Senate, and right out in the open, calling out to support Al-Qaeda in Syria. We even have Senator McCain visiting Al-Qaeda in Syria. What do we do? Do we go eat hot dogs and watch fireworks on the 4th of July? Or do we...
I work 7 days a week. That is absolutely treason. Okay? There's no mistake in that. I have said that from time immemorial, ever since Barack Obama was supporting Al-Qaeda in Libya.
We don't have to. We cannot celebrate our independence. We are no longer independent.
Okay, well, let me put it this way. I'm going to enjoy a nice fireworks show with my kids. How about that?
Sure. No, I'm not referring to you. I'm talking about us as a people.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I feel for this country, brother. I weep for it. What the country that you and I grew up with is gone. The republic fell, and nobody noticed. And we're in a lot of trouble. But we have to stick together, and we have to do it legally. Stay with your county sheriffs, your local police departments, because they're the ones that are going to be protecting you when those Department of Homeland Security and United Nations MRAPs come waltzing down the street.
That's right, sir. Bobby, don't take any offense to this. I wanted to make sure I covered both sides, okay? I think we did. Yeah, no, I do. Semper Fi, man. Seriously. We're in this together. We got to hang together no matter what. But I don't want to throw anybody under the bus unnecessarily. That's all I'm saying.
Well, gentlemen of goodwill can disagree and not necessarily hate each other.
That's right. All right, man. We'll be in touch, buddy. Let's stay close, okay? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back. I'm going to do some final commentary here, and then we're going to bring Patrick on for the Bunker News Break coming up at the top of the hour. Don't go away. Lots to discuss here.
Well, that was a pretty exciting interview with Pete Santilli. I hope I set him straight on a couple of things. I've tried to get Adam Kokesh on the show. I've invited him on the show 4 separate times, but he refuses to even acknowledge the fact that he's getting the requests. And I know that he sees them because he's replying to my other comments on YouTube. So, that's no excuse. And I know he's going to see this too. So, Adam, come on the show. Maybe we can work something out. You never know. Now, remember, if you have the ability, please go to bobpowell.blogspot.com and leave me a donation so that we can keep on carrying this fight forward. And don't forget to follow The Truth is Viral on Twitter, @TheTruthIsViral, on Facebook, /TheTruthIsViral, and livestream.com/TTiV live. Every now and then when I have a special guest, we'll just pop up and we'll do the interview just right then. And I'll edit it down and put it into a much better looking video like this later. Thank you everybody for watching The Truth is Viral. My name is Bob Powell, and as always, God bless, Semper Fi, and Oorah.
Thank you for watching The Truth is Viral with your host, Bobby Powell. Make sure to follow The Apocalypse on Twitter at The Truth is Viral. Like The Truth is Viral on Facebook, and if you can, please remember to donate to the cause via PayPal at www.bobpowell.blogspot.com.
Back runner. Yep.